Using one light, I'm going to show you how you can create 5 completely different dramatic black and white portraits. Make sure you stick around for the whole video because some of these portraits ended up going viral on Instagram. This first lighting pattern is one of the most classic lighting patterns, known as Rembrandt lighting. While there's a lot of purists out there who will argue the exact formula to get that lighting pattern down, it essentially refers to a triangle of light that's created opposite to the main light source. And to create that, it's going to vary from person to person, mainly due to the modifier that you're using, as well as the bone structure of the person. In this case, I'm going to be slightly turned towards the light. I opted to go with a smaller softbox. Generally, it's going to be easier to get this light pattern with a smaller modifier, whether that's a reflector or a spotlight or even a bare bulb will really help you define that triangle of light. But this also should do the trick as well. And lastly, this is not pointed directly at me, but the center is going right past my nose and just the edge of the light is going to be catching me. That's referred to as feathering the light. And that's your Rembrandt. And here's an additional tip that a lot of people may not realize when doing this light setup. Once you have that light setup for that person's face, all you need to do is take the light and move it with the subject. So for example, if I wanted to do a Rembrandt profile, then I would take the light, pick it up, set myself up so that I'm in profile, and that would be an example of a Rembrandt profile shot. This next setup is going to show you how to make the background go completely black without the use of editing, masking, or Photoshop. For this shot, I'm going to be using a 25-inch octabox. Right now, the background is dark, but it's not completely black. It's like more of a dark gray. So I'm going to show you one thing that you can do to instantly handle that problem. This is called a grid or a honeycomb, and it basically uses Velcro to attach to your softbox or octabox. Now let's take the shot. A grid helps to narrow the light, and so it prevents the light from spilling onto unwanted places. It also helps to really accentuate shadows under cheekbones or other features that maybe you really want to showcase in your portrait. Now I'm just going to do a couple of adjustments to get the portrait just how I want it to be. And that makes me look like I'm picking my nose. I call this one the slice of light. When you watch this one, pay close attention to the placement of the light as well as what happens with the shadows. The distance between the light and the flag is going to be about 2.5 feet, and this is really important because that is what is going to define your shadow for you. I have a reflector with a 50-degree grid so the light doesn't spill everywhere. This is a poster board from an art store, and I basically just took a knife and I cut that slit in there, and it's being held with a clamp on a light stand. So the light right now is focused directly into the center of this slit. A good idea is to turn on your modeling lamp so that you can see this light pass through this hole. The position between the flag and my face is probably just under a foot. For this shot, I'm being really particular about the placement of my head because not only am I trying to get the light just right, but I'm also pretty close with my camera. So that's a pretty cool effect. Now, if I wanted to take it a step further, I could either widen this gap to give a little bit more room to what is actually being lit, or I could add other slits so I could create almost like a curtain effect. It's actually really messy, not even at all. This might really help with the effect, or it'll really mess it up. And that's pretty cool. By rotating it, you can get other cool effects. And it can really create like a dynamic shadow. I've now lowered the light so it's a little bit more level with my head. Pretty cool, huh? Now keep in mind that we're only using one light, and I've been using the same flash each time with just a couple of different modifiers. The next two setups I'm going to share have been my most viral setups to date, and they're incredibly simple. This first one was inspired by a really awesome photographer, Jill Greenberg. And as I said, it cannot get any simpler. I'm using a 36-inch octabox that is directly behind me and it's angled down. As I sit, I want to make sure that my head is as close to the diffusion as possible. As you can see, the light wraps around, creates a really dynamic portrait. The face is partially hidden, but you can see all the contours, and it's just a really cool image. Easy. The last one has got to be one of my all-time favorite images. And again, you won't believe how simple it is. It's actually a build-off from this last setup. By adding just one element, you can completely change the character of the photo while still getting a super great look. I'm going to modify this setup by placing a flag in between me and the light. The only tricky thing about this is that you want to make sure you have the black poster board or flag, whatever it is that you use, fill the whole frame. And so I'm going to just make an adjustment with my camera. And now when I take the photo, you have a really cool black and white photo that has these great highlights on a pure black background. There's almost not a pose that you could do that would make this look uncool, except maybe that one where my nose is chopped off. Really cool.